state agencies that are issuing permits for land development, federal agencies. So it's always technical, there's always lawyers involved, and we never get to talk to the users of the property, in this case, the residents of the property. So I'm really happy to be able to do this, and I'm really happy not to have to do a technical presentation. So I'm going to talk in general terms about this property. Ed already explained to you that we started the site search back in 2011. I looked at 204 different properties to gather information and then narrow it down until we ended up with just a handful where we actually went out, walked sites, did tests, did test pits and soil tests. We did a lot of different reviews for solar exposure. We studied wetlands. We looked for ledge on the properties. All these different aspects that go into a detailed site search. Bottom line is we ended up here at Wyman Road. And I hope most of you have had a chance to drive by and see the property today. It's going to change significantly with the development of this project. And the first difference you're going to see is on Wyman Road itself. The city of Keene, back in 1996, when they developed the corporate park out at that, near that area in Keene, reconstructed Wyman Road where it meets Route 12 and reconstructed the roadway all the way up to Blackbrook Road, which is just to the south of our site. So if you look, I hope you can see this red line, this is Wyman Road, and south is to the right. So down in this area, the city reconstructed Wyman Road and then stopped. We're going to start where the city stopped and reconstruct Wyman Road further to the north, all the way through this area and down to where Black Brook crosses under Wyman Road. So that'll be brand new roadway. It'll be 24 feet paved. Today it's only 20 feet paved. You'll see the pavement is cracked and in poor condition today. It's going to be all rebuilt. It's not going to just be top coated with paving. It'll be new construction. Because we're replacing guardrail that's in that location. We'll be improving drainage. And so that's the first change that you see. And then as you approach the site coming in, we've developed landscaping plans, and I won't go through all the details, but there's going to be new plantings of trees along both sides of the roadway. We've selected a native species, a red-spired pear, which is a beautiful flowering tree in the springtime, white blossoms. They'll be in place for about 3 weeks at the beginning of the growing season. It'll make a beautiful entrance as you approach this property from the south, from Route 12. So all along this area, you see those red-spired pears, and those will be extended around parking areas on both sides of the road. The 3 buildings that are proposed for the site, most of you are familiar with. There's the health center on the west side of the road. And this is going to be, it'll appear from the roadway as you're approaching to be a 2-story building. And this is part of the beauty of this site. This site isn't flat, it's a pancake. And because of that, it's not an easy site to build on. But having the grade to deal with, having the slopes to deal with, allows for much more creative use of the site, much more creativity in the architecture and the buildings on the site. And that's where Taki came in. And I've got to tell you, I've been doing this for 40 years in Keene. Worked with a lot of architects from New York City, from San Francisco, from Florida, from all over the country on big projects. And Taki has been one of the best architects I've ever worked with. The job that he has done on this property to fit these buildings into the site, and I hope you can appreciate that. This is a custom design. This isn't a plan he took off the shelf. He's custom designed each of these buildings to fit this site. And that's something that doesn't happen a lot today. So many times I'll get national companies that are working on a project, either in Keene or the areas around Keene that I work in, and they'll bring a plan to me and say, okay, we love the site you found for us. This is the plan I want you to put on. And we struggle to fit this design into a site where it just doesn't want to be. It's not designed to fit a site. That's not the case here. It's done a fabulous job incorporating the slopes into the building designs and taking full advantage to create the views that are going to be created, especially on the upper floors of these buildings. But in the health building, this is a building that will slope from the right side, the south side, to the left, the north. It will be higher because it slopes downhill toward this adjacent property to the north, and that'll be a 3-story building initially. And I understand it may be growing at some point in the future. But it fits the site, so not a lot of extra work is necessary. It's going to look like it belongs there, and that's important. The community building, by any standard, is a very large building. It's very long, it has the multiple residential wings that you see. We did the same thing here. From Wyman Road, standing and looking at that building, and I'm sure he has rendered images here, it's a 2-story building. It fits on Wyman Road in that rural setting. It looks like it belongs, and the architecture is right for this community. As you go around to the east side of the building, the slope drops down away from Wyman Road. And each of these wings becomes multi-story buildings, taking advantage of that slope. But the height of the building from Wyman Road, for the public driving by, it doesn't look out of place. Because even though it's long, it's well articulated, it's not a flat line across the front of the building. It really is tucked beautifully into that site. It allows us, when an architect is talented enough to do that, it allows us to save a lot of the mature trees that are there on the property. And this property is full of sugar maples. And that's part of the history of this property. There's almost 200 years of history of use of this property as a farm in agricultural use. And we'll be identifying that. We're creating a display that'll be on display in the lobby of the community building that'll talk about that history of the property. So you'll be able to see it and get more familiar with it. You'll see pictures of the buildings on the property, not only as they are today, but as they used to be decades ago. So it's really very interesting. And I'm glad that's being incorporated in that part of the project. It's also part of our permitting. And permitting on a project like this gets very complicated. And it involves not only local permits, building permits, and zoning board, city council, and site plan review of the planning board, but it involves several state permits for utilities, for the drainage systems, for wetlands that exist on the property, and impacts to those wetlands that we're proposing. But it also involved historic resources. And the New Hampshire Division of Historic Resources became involved because of the wetlands on the property. And just yesterday, we received approval from the Division of Historic Resources in Concord on our plan for addressing mitigation for historic resources. So that was great news, another big step in our permitting process. There's also federal agencies involved. The Army Corps of Engineers and the Environmental Protection Agency are involved, and they oversee all permits. Even permits we receive at the state level, those are overseen by federal agencies. And they can intervene at any time, and they have on this project because the property was deemed eligible to be listed as a historic property. So that brought in the federal agencies. We've been meeting with them, talking about our project. Everything has gone really well. The primary item of importance to them is the community. And is the community behind this project? Does the community want and need this project? And in our case, it's been easy, thanks to most of you, to prove that there's not only a need for this in the community, but the community wants this. So as we've gotten our local approvals, we've been getting input from you as residents. Some of you have committed to living here. All of that has helped us to gain the stance that we're now in with the state and federal agencies. They're all on board with this project. We're going to issue the permits that we need. I expect to have everything in hand by early spring. So if they want to break ground in the spring of 2017, they'll be able. The permits won't be in play. I'm going to finish talking about the site a little bit. There's a third building on the property, Woodside Apartments, which are here at the south end of the property. Those are independent living units. Again, it's a 4-story building. And this is located in such a way that it's at the bottom of the slope as you go from Wyman Road down the hill. And it overlooks the open field to the east and part of the forested area that exists on the property to the east. total property is about 49 acres. We've developed plans to preserve a little over 30 acres of it. So that'll be permanently preserved. There'll be undisturbed forested areas that are here and extend off the plan and up and above. This field area that you see will be preserved as part of our usable area. We're developing plans for a pathway that will walk from this area around the edge of an existing wetland near the brook. There's also land across the stream, and I might as well go to that. I'll get to it. This is part of your property. The Wyman Road is here on the left side of the sheet, and this is the road that's below the community building. You can see this brown line. This is part of a pathway system that we're going to construct. It'll be a gravel pathway that'll go next to the brook, and it'll utilize this open field area across the brook. And part of this area will also have a gazebo, so we'll have a sitting area in a very beautiful setting. You'll be able to look back across the open field. This is an open field as well, and see the buildings and the rest of Hillside Village. Going back to the Woodside building, when I work on projects like this, I always like to, for my own purposes, take a personal view. And I don't always represent that at meetings, but in my mind, it helps me design a project, it helps me work through issues on a project. What would I want if I lived there? In this case, my wife and I have already talked about it. We're 8 or 10 years out, but we intend to live here. We've made our choice. We're just not ready yet. I'm not on Medicare yet. 1 more year. She's a year behind me. And then we can talk about retirement and make our long-term plans. So we sat down, we went through these plans, and I have a lot more knowledge than you do about all these plans. And I get to bring them all home. She gets to review them all. She's my office manager, by the way. So she hears all the discussions and participates. And we talked about where would we want to live on this property. And she didn't even hesitate. She selected Woodside. And the reason she selected Woodside, I said, why Woodside? Why wouldn't you want to be on the top floor of the community building? The best views, the highest views, Mount Monadnock right there. Just an awesome spot. She said because it's the house at the end of the road. She wants to live at the dead end. She doesn't want traffic. She doesn't want to look at Lyman Road. I'm sorry to get emotional on it. She just went through major surgery. I'm sorry. She's doing really well. She's going to recover completely. A couple more months and she'll be back to work full time. So we're still planning long term. And Woodside is one of the areas that we want to relocate it at. So that's our long term plan. It's the house at the end of the road, doesn't have the road noise. It's shielded from Wyman Road by a forested area that's going to remain. It has views across an open area, looking north and east, and a wooded area looking south and east. It has immediate access to the walking trail. We're avid walkers, so we want to be able to walk from our residence out and get out in the open areas. This also has access, if you continue to the right, these are the garages that are close by and connected through a covered and enclosed walkway directly to the residences. It's also connected back to the main building, so you don't have to go outside in the snow or the rain. The inside is protected. But at the end of the driveway, near the end of the garages, is a gated emergency access road that can also be used for walking. That will extend further to the south, all the way down to Blackbrook Road. And you can go up Blackbrook Road and back along a sewer main corridor that we're constructing through the woods. So that'll be a beautiful wooded walkway area that extends immediately to the south and in very close proximity to the city. So that's going to be our choice. And I don't know what all of your choices are. I see the dots on Taki's plan over here. And I personally expected a lot of those units to go right away because of the fabulous views that you just don't get every year. So all of this speaks a lot to the job that the architect has done. I can't say enough about the great job he has done. So this is a wonderful place that we're going to live. I do want to wrap up. They asked me not to go more than 10 minutes. I'm pretty sure I have. But just to talk about the permitting a little bit. Keene is a difficult town to get permits in. It doesn't matter what it is. It can be a little addition on a house. It can be a shopping center. And I worked on them all. It's unfortunate that the newspaper selected a negative comment by one of the planning board members last month and focused on that. But what I tell my clients, and I think I've told it to Ed, and I think I've told it to Kimball, welcome to Keene. This is what happens in Keene. There's no kid gloves. Board members take their jobs very seriously. Some of them take it very personally. They're approached on the street by neighbors, by maybe even some of you. They've been criticized repeatedly in the past for decisions they've made. So I feel for them. I deal with them every month. I've done literally over 1,000 site plan applications just in Keene. We also work in all the surrounding towns around Keene. So I understand what they go through. I read that stuff, it doesn't bother me. I know in the end, they're going to do their job. Their job is to review 19 different development standards and check our plan, do we comply? Keene has the benefit of a professional planning staff. There are 5 people up at City Hall on the 4th floor, and that's all they do. They're the city planners and the planning department. They review every application that comes in. They have a support staff for the planning board, the zoning board, and the city council. And we work with city staff face to face. We sit down with our plans, we work through issues, and we verify compliance with all the standards. I fully expect to receive unanimous approval of our site plan on November 28th. I met with city staff yesterday. They developed their list of approval conditions for us. So the board will have their list of conditions and be in a position to vote approval. We're addressing any final issues that were brought up as a result of the last meeting, and I'll be addressing those at the next meeting on November 28th. I've already had meetings with the state of New Hampshire, Department of Environmental Services. We will need permits for alteration of terrain. If you disturb the ground more than 100,000 contiguous square feet, you need a special permit from the state of New Hampshire. It's a technical permit. It deals with drainage, sediment and erosion control. Are we protecting adjacent wetlands on the property? Yes, we are. Do we meet the drainage standards? Yes, we do. So we've been through preliminary application with the state. We've made a couple comments. We'll get our permit. We get that permit probably within 30 days of submitting the application, because we've had pre-applications meetings with them. So the staff person that does the review is already familiar with the project. We've already addressed their issues. We will seek a wetlands permit from the state of New Hampshire. The first part of that process was the historical review. We also did an archaeological review of the property. That's all been completed. And as of yesterday, we've been deemed approvable by Historic Resources in Concord. Now I can submit the formal application for the wetlands permit, and I expect that'll be the last permit issued because it takes 4 or 5 months to process. It's just the way it is in Concord, but we'll get that permit as well. So the federal agencies have already indicated if the locals are supporting your project and if Concord signs off, we're not going to get in the way. They're not going to intervene on the final permits. So I feel great about where we are in the permitting process. This is a big project, and we worked for 2 years on that permitting, and we're in great shape. I'm basing that on 40 years of experience. I've only had 3 permits ever denied in 40 years that I've been doing this. 2 of those were overturned on appeal and ultimately approved. One, the owner chose to walk away. If we had fought it, I think we would have won that as well. So I know how to do the plans, I know how to do the permitting, I know what's required, I know how to prove compliance, and we're there. So I'm 100% confident that we're going to get our permits, we're going to be in a position to break ground in the spring. With that, I'll turn it back to Ed or over to Ken. Some of you have any questions. If anybody's an engineer and wants detailed technical responses, I'll be here, so I'm happy to answer your questions.
Thank you. We are so happy to be working with Jim and have him part of the team. Now we get to some other exciting stuff, because Taki's going to review some of the new facets of the project, community center, and things that he's come up with. I hope building the project's easier than a PowerPoint.
Thank you, Ed, and thank you, Jim, and thank you for the kind words for the architect. You don't normally hear those words whenever they're good. It was terrific. She's brilliant to meet our other clients. Great. I want to talk about the site as well, because that's where everything begins, and that's where the inspiration came from. And I'd like to read what was said at the Zoning Board of Appeals on November 2nd of last year, when they approved the zoning for this project. And I quote members of the Zoning Board. The special condition of the property that distinguishes it from other properties in the area is the existence of several areas of steep slopes, wetlands, and floodplains. In order to avoid and reduce impacts to the most sensitive ecological areas on the site, it was necessary to locate and construct buildings and parking in such a way that there will be minor impacts to the physical environment, including the existing steep slopes on the site. One of the members went so far as to say that the way the buildings were nestled into the land reminded him of The Hobbit. And the home conveyed a feeling of comfort and a sense of security. Well, I think that was wonderful, but we don't have thatched roofs, so you don't have to worry about that. The site really sets the tune, the tone, and the theme for our design, which from the beginning to final drawings and details reflects and responds to this really God-given opportunity on this planet. The views, the slope, the thickly wooded site remind me of the day when I worked with Ed years ago, and he made reference to it. He called me and said we had another project to do for him down in Delaware. And I said, well, I'm going to come down, I want to see the site. And he said, well, you know, I just want you to do, I'll send you the site plan, I just want you to see if the program fits on the site. And you really don't have to come down. I said, but Dad, I have to come down and see the site. He said, no, Taki, it's flat, it's a pancake. There's really nothing on the site that will influence the design. Well, this site is not flat as a pancake. I guarantee this is the total opposite of that situation. The other thing that the site has is some beautiful historic fieldstone walls. As you drive up Wyman Road on both sides of the wall. And it was the American poet laureate Robert Frost from New Hampshire who imbued New England stone walls with the local significance. Frost's poetry helped solidify the heroic all-American image of the Yankee farmer, an independent, self-reliant, and resilient. Stone walls were more than symbols, they were oracles. So, The site has historical significance for you and inspiration for me. And all the architecture has to do is respect the site and make sure the buildings fit comfortably in the site, and then work very hard to get all the program requirements that will make your life that much more enjoyable and meaningful. Because this stage of your life is really a new beginning, and it's a new experience. So we as architects are sensitive to that, and we really made every effort, and we continue to make every effort to make sure that programmatically you have the comfort of a home, but the inspiration and excitement of a wonderful, wonderful site. Briefly, the orientation, as you can see, of the 4 wings that cascade down the slope with a community building fronting on Wyman Road, the dark gray band at the bottom is Wyman Road, with a Forster Share entrance. It has 2 stories. The community building is 2 stories. This is the top floor. It's labeled as the 4th floor because the 3rd floor is your ground level entrance. The floor above, which is the 2nd floor, is referred to as the 4th floor because the buildings go down because of the slope. Below the first 2 floors are the mechanical rooms and more wings that extend out to the top of the screen, and all the apartments have views from both sides of each wing, as well as the apartments along the connectors between the wings. And this level below is where the majority of the mechanical, electrical, and utilitarian areas are. There's going to be a large woodworking shop next to the maintenance shop for those gentlemen that want to participate, and ladies, in woodworking activities. And this is the upper level of the swimming pool, and below that level, 1 level above the parking level, again, this is the 4th level of apartments, where they all project out, and the space between the wings are rather generous, so you're not really looking directly, you are looking if you were to stare directly across the courtyard, but they're very wide, so all the views are really oriented out of the courtyard. There's a swimming pool with a wellness center and exercise rooms adjacent, men's and women's lockers, a swimming pool that's 50 feet long, 16 feet wide. It's for swimming and standing. It's only 3'6" deep, and it slopes to a 3'9" in the middle. So it's a safe pool. It's deep enough for swimming and not too deep that it's precarious for any resident. At every level of every knuckle of the buildings, there's an elevator all the way down to the parking level and all the way up. There are 4 elevators serving each 1 elevator serving each wing. And at the knuckles of each wing that connects, there's a trash room and a trash chute, so an electrical room and an elevator. So when you leave your apartment, you can drop off your trash into the trash room and it'll be taken care of. The lowest level, the parking level, where all the enclosed cars are parked, the red, the fire stair egresses for the building above, and the elevators are along the bottom end of these wings, because the rest of the white is your underneath the community building. So these are the bottom levels of the apartment wings. To look more closely at the community building, let me get my phone because it's a little darker. This is the porte cochere, a covered entry that you drive under and drop off. This is the main entrance. The yellow is the circulation. One of the factors of the design was, again, taking advantage of the view and orienting the building towards the view. When you walk in and you look straight through the glass wall with a nice, elegant grand stair with very low riser tread, so you can glide up to the 2nd floor, or you can take the elevator. There's the central dining room with an outdoor terrace that overlooks the meadows and the views to the east. So when you walk and enter the building, and you'll be able to see straight through to the eastern views, as well as natural light will come flooding down from a skylight above through this large open wall where we have a nice grand stair. On the ground level, there'll be administrative offices on one side, reception, living room, lounge off the lobby, a large coat room for residents and visitors when there are functions taking place, a beauty salon, and next to the central dining will be a tavern restaurant for casual dining with a cook counter as well as a bar that will serve both the tavern as well as the dining room. Adjacent to the dining room is a very large commercial kitchen for custom order food and dinners for the residents. And to the right of that, hidden, because it slopes down, is the receiving area for all the services for the building. And the yellow, again, is a continuation of the corridors of people that happen to be living here. They're right around the corner from the ground floor of the community building. Same thing here. The level above is the second floor of the community building. This is the large performing arts center. It seats approximately 100 people when it's 120 people when it's enclosed, but it has the capability to open up to encourage more people to participate. They can sit out here so that can accommodate approximately 190 more people. So performance arts center for special occasions, the rear wall will be opened up to accommodate a larger crowd. There's a mini theater that accommodates approximately 30 people. There's a grab and go, it's like a snack bar. There's a large sitting area overlooking the high ceilings and slope glazing of the central dining below. And there's arts and crafts activities as well as a private dining. Your food will be brought up in a special elevator from the kitchen below to serve residents that have reserved private dining. This is a section cutting through the building, looking north. As if you took a knife and sliced it. This is the ground level, which as you can see is the third floor. This is the upper level, it's the fourth floor. The skylight floods the interior of the top floor as well as the lower floor. These are the apartments that cascade down. So from Wyman Road, as Jim pointed out, it's a 2-story building, but from the backside, from the meadows, it's a 4-story and even a 5-story building if you include the parking underneath. This is an aerial bird's eye view of the apartment wings with the courtyards between them. And you can see all the apartments will have views out towards the east with the sloping roofs. A view from the meadow looking up at the buildings with the curved facades and slope roofs and the balconies and the apartments and the real lovely environment that they portray. This is the community building as you approach it from the city, heading north on Wyman Road, and that's the porte cochere. This is a pergola in front. The base of the building will be stone, replicated faux stone, but made out of stone dust. It looks like natural stone. The upper levels of the building will be all vinyl and plastic, maintenance-free materials. The windows, the siding, the trim, we have dormers. The porte cochere has special structural elements that take place and reinforce that, and all in keeping with trying to portray a very elegant but understated home. This is looking at the community building towards the south. You see the curved wall of the Performing Arts Center on the left here. And of course at night, with the special lighting coming at night, And in the wintertime, it gets dark pretty soon. You have a very attractive, inviting community building to come home to. The Woodside Apartments is the reason for this slide, the way over on the right. They have their own private garages. There are four floors, there are 24 units, and each and every one of them has a frontal view looking eastward, and the end units wrap around. They're even larger units, and they all have balconies facing the front, whereas the ones on the end have wraparound balconies, similar to the end units of the independent living unit wing. There's going to be a special tavern, game room that will serve this building off of this on the second floor. It'll be here, very large room, hasn't been totally programmed yet, but it will be for special activities. There'll be a fireplace for the residents that live, 24 residents that live in this building. They'll be connected directly to the community building with an enclosed heated walkway. It's in two sections, 140 feet and 60 feet. But partway in the middle is a little gazebo sitting area if you want to, again, contemplate the view. So, and then there's a special covered walkway that will take the residents to their enclosed garages. So what makes this different than the independent living units have the parking under the building, these residents will have just a residential type of private garage, one for each apartment. This is the rendering that we did for the Woodside Apartments viewed from the wetlands. And this is the rendering that was created by Blue Spire, by Jim Kelly and his group. And it's really, the trees really exist, and the building really sits very snugly, but it's a grand type of building, taking advantage of the views. It's a 4-story apartment with balconies. And to the left, if you can make it out, of the garages for these people. Across the street, directly opposite the community building, is the health center. That's connected to an underground tunnel that's approximately 160 feet long with skylights. It makes it very pleasant, 10 feet wide. And it goes from the community building directly into the lower level of the health center, where residents can go visit their friends or their spouses if they happen to be in the health center. The health center, as you know, contains assisted living, 43 units of 1-bedroom assisted living. It has a 20-bed nursing care unit on the upper level, and at the lower level, as Jim pointed out, it slopes down. There's a Alzheimer's memory care unit. And this shows the basic organization of the health center, with the lower level, the yellow being the circulation, and all the private rooms for the memory care units, and their own sensory garden on the bottom of the page, so they can go out and have commune with nature. Sensory gardens are important in memory care. And it's called sensory garden because you have the smells of the flowers, the sounds of the wind, the birds, and the feel of the nature. So it's very therapeutic and integral to the design of a memory care unit. The ground floor is the main floor for the health center, where most of the assisted living begins in 1-bedroom assisted living units, and they also have all that yellow area as an activity area. The next level, and they also have an their own private outdoor recreation area on this side. It's all landscape terrace, and raised gardens, etc. So separate from obviously the memory care residence. So they have their own outdoor recreation area. And on the upper level, we have the 20-bed nursing care unit with its own private dining facing the front, its own small serving kitchen as well. And the assisted living units on the back half, they have a direct connection with stairs or even with their own elevator to their own other units. So the health center has evolved from this concept of creating households. We were very tight on the site because we were squeezed by the steep slope, as well as the wetlands, as well as Wyman Road. So in order to create households, we had to shape the building in such a way so that we would avoid any long corridors or any long institutional appearance looks. So they're called households or neighborhoods, and gives opportunity for the interior designers to address each neighborhood distinctly if so wish. So with that, I'm concluding the preliminary review of the architecture and turning back over to Ed.
Thank you, Doctor. Great job. We're going to have questions in a second. I just want to wrap up a couple things, and then we'll open it up to questions. And Judy will take the microphone around, and somebody will. Okay. First of all, I see Harry in the back. Harry, where were you this morning? Nice to see you. One of the things I love about working with committees is the flexibility that we have. And also tell your friends, because some of you have experienced already meeting with Harry, and if you haven't, you're still going to meet with Harry to talk about the layout of your individual apartments and some of the optional changes you can make to it. And that is really cool, because this isn't just a cookie cutter, here's your apartment, go get it. If you don't want a wall between the living room and the den, and if you want a sliding door into the folding door, you want to change the kitchen a little bit, you can do this thing. Now is the time to do it. And I know, Harry, how many you've met so far? About 50. Okay, we got another 30 to go, so if you're interested in making some minor adjustments to your apartments, Harry's the guy to see, and we thank Taki for being flexible because he has to incorporate all those little details into the construction plans to make sure they get done. Anybody who chooses too late to buy an apartment doesn't get that flexibility because it's starting to get built. I just wanted to mention a couple other things Dr. Temple asked me to talk about. We have been evaluating solar energy for the roof. We haven't made a decision on it yet, and it's kind of an open question. And part of that is because it's actually Taki's electrical engineer said to me not long ago as we were investigating this, remember a number of years ago you bought a $5,000 50-inch TV, and now you go to Walmart and it's $600. So we have the same question about solar energy, whether or not we're going to go with a solar energy plan right up front, or whether we're going to bide our time a little bit and see how some of the energy improvements evolve, because ultimately it's a savings to the community and we have to see how it works out. We've been investigating heating with biomass. What does biomass mean? Pretty simple, it's wood chips and wood pellets. It has some positives, it has some negatives. We haven't finished evaluating that. I'd say we're probably leaning away from doing that, but I think it's important for you as future residents to know that it's something we've been evaluating. And anything else? I think that's it for now. Dr. Temple, did we miss anything?
One thing is about the health center with the assisted living. You mentioned the fact that these are all single apartments.
But there's going to be ability to make it into larger units for a couple.
Yes. If in fact there's a case where there's two people who have moved into the health center, husband and wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, the units can be set up so they can be connected and becomes a larger 4-room unit, because in fact the assisted living units are actually 2-room private suites. The nursing centers are all private rooms, but they're single rooms and not a suite.
Yeah, the health center is a steel frame building, different from the rest of the community because of code, life safety code.
Yeah, actually the community center and the health center now are both steel frame
buildings. A lot of
buildings.
built-in flexibility.
We're doing, I don't want to get into too much detail, we'd be here forever. We're evaluating whether or not the dividing walls between the apartments should be steel frame rather than wood, what's the benefits, structurally, soundproofing we're evaluating to make sure that your units are very properly soundproofed. We're looking at the insulation to make sure we encapsulate and keep the heat that's in the building. So lots of stuff's going on right now. I don't want to go any further than that, but let's go to questions. Who has questions? This young lady up here had her hand up first, please.
I'm wondering about the space between the buildings, the open space between the four buildings. So if we use this room, that wall is one building, where does the next building start?
How many feet are between the wings, Doc?
140, 160.
Wow, 140 to
I'm gonna
160 feet.
translate that in my head.
How wide is this
2,
room?
4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13. This is 38.
This is 38 feet and it's 140.
140.
140 to 100, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, my heavens.
Yeah, and the other thing is, don't forget, unlike you see some apartments that have wings, the wings are long. There's only 3 or 4 apartments per wing, so the wings aren't very deep, but the space between them are very wide, which means that every apartment, even if it's in a corner, has great views out with lots of light and open space.
Thank you.
That's a good question, Judy, for us to remember in marketing purposes. Yes, ma'am. Wherever you want to go now.
Is this loud enough?
Just hold a little closer.
I'm Jeannie Sy, and I'm going to be a resident. I'm also on the board. These questions, however, come from a woman who's going to be in Woodside. She was my former boss, so I'm reading them. She wrote, if we can keep astronauts in space for years, and if we can now conduct surgery using laser beams, surely there is a way to put the HVAC units outside with the access door facing inside, so that they are accessible inside for maintenance. You knew this was coming, The second question is, all of us come from homes where we enter our houses through doors that have some glass in it or around it. Doors without glass lend the feeling of being institutional or hotel or New York City apartment style. I'm proposing that the glass on these doors to our units could be frosted or bullseye type placed up near the top. This would give us additional soft light and provide us with the appearance and feeling more in line with the homes we are leaving. Doors with glass would be aesthetically appealing, provide a little more light, and help us feel like we are living independently in our new home while eliminating the institutional feeling. Please comment on this concept for creating a warm, homey look and feel to our future homes. Thank you for consideration of these issues. Mary Wazeka, future resident. Thank you.
Okay, let's go to the doors first. I think it's a great issue. That means when you go down the hallway, the individual doors may be different, so some may be frosted, some may be solid, some may be something else. I think it's something to consider. I think I'd look for you don't need to do it today, but the architect to comment on it, and ultimately for us to decide whether that's something we should be done. And I look at it this way: it's your home. So if that's the door that you want to have on the door of your home, I'm okay with that. I just want to make sure that our architect and interior designer don't bring up an issue that says, wow, that's going to really look funny. I don't think it will. It's your home. So I don't see why we can't change the door. I will ask for the 19th time, maybe the 20th time, Taki to have a discussion with his engineers about whether any of these units that are built into the corner, the HVAC units, can actually go outside, but I'm almost positive the answer is going to be no for a number of reasons. But I'm going to let him address it with it. Huh? Not now. Thank you for the question. We'll go back and revisit it. It's partly a question of the architecture on the outside of the building. It's partly a question of access into the unit. It's partly a question of ductwork and how it operates. So there's a number of issues related to that, of which I'm not an expert. But we will ask the question again. I can't, is that fair?
Sure.
Do you have an answer now?
No.
The answer is he doesn't have an answer. Okay. So So we will review that question again.
Can I follow up on that?
Yes, ma'am.
In that column where that system is, will sound be transmitted through that, and will we be getting smells from other apartments?
No.
Is that correct?
The answer is no, that it'll be highly insulated and you don't get any smells. You don't get any smells from the unit, period. And the noise will be very, very, very light. And the units are, with very minor exceptions, in the second bedroom, in the den, in some other areas, not in the living room or main bedroom space. Yes, ma'am.
Have you considered thermal heating and cooling?
I'm sorry,
Have you considered thermal heating and cooling?
yeah, we don't have a site that is conducive to geothermal. And the reason is it takes a lot of room outside for all the underground piping and things, and the wells they have to drill for that. Don't forget the majority of the land that's been preserved is in fact environmentally sensitive when we can't put those kinds of geothermal fields in there. And the follow-up question answer to that is, you gotta have kind of deep pockets, because in reality, the geothermal doesn't pay for itself for 15 to 20 years. But it's a great idea. We have money. Yes, sir. How about you?
Just a question on the underground parking. Are those gonna have garage doors on them that go up and down? Okay, because we're on the first floor, right above where the garage door would come. So we're wondering, are we gonna hear that door going up
Very
and down?
sensitive to that issue.
The question is, will anybody here, will there be a garage door leading into the underground parking, and will you hear it? There's two pieces of that. Yes, they will have a garage door. And the second piece of that is, actually, we've redone the structural system over top of the garages, and it's all concrete and steel now. You're not gonna be able to hear it. There's just no way to get the sound through that kind of structure. I know you.
This question is for Tati, and this might be too early, but do you have a sense of what kind of interior lighting we will have?
For the units themselves?
Well, for both, and I'm interested in the top levels. Will there be room for recessed lighting, if you're on the top floor?
Yes, they will be.
There will be.
Correct.
And do you have some idea of your vision of lighting for both the common space and the individual units?
We're working hand in hand with the interior designers on that issue, but because we've done a lot of these facilities ourselves and have designed the lighting is very integral to the design of the units. So we found that we certainly provide built-in lighting for the bathrooms, for the vanity in the ceiling. We have ceiling lights recessed in the vestibules and in the kitchens and the bathrooms. Everything else, we have outlets that can be switched for our lamps, where people want to put lamps when they come into their apartment. And other than that, we don't get involved with picking any other ceiling fixtures in people's apartments because it's a personal choice. In the common areas, the focus is on indirect lighting, so people don't have to stare at hard lights like we do here. So the variety of lighting, all LED, certainly all modern light fixtures now are LED, long lasting, and gives a variety of illumination and colors and renderings of spaces. So each space is custom designed for the lighting that it provides.
I just want to raise one other issue about this that reminds me that the process that Harry's going through right now with residents that meet with him are really pretty much structural kind of changes. There is going to be a whole process later of options and upgrades. We're going to have some standard optional packages for kitchen cabinetry and countertops and flooring, and perhaps that package may include recessed lighting in apartments, so if somebody wants them, rather than other lights, they want a recessed lighting in the kitchen or something else, or over the counters, or there's going to be a whole laundry list of items of which you get to pick from and choose to personalize your apartment. Some of them will be at no increase in cost, they'll just be choices that you make for cabinetry and flooring and stuff like that. Some of them may be upgrade if that's the direction you're going. I would imagine, Mariah, if it's recessed lighting in the ceiling throughout an apartment, that's going to be an additional cost, but that may be an option in an apartment. Yes?
What type of windows are there going to be?
What kind of windows?
Yes.
Double hung.
Yeah,
Traditional
double hung windows.
Can the location of the windows be moved?
If you express your concerns on this location, we'll do our best to do it.
Yeah, when you meet with Harry, if you want to move some windows to some degree, there may be some flexibility, understanding the exterior of the building has to be somewhat symmetrical.
That's what I was concerned about. Can the plans right now show that the doors to the balconies open inwards, but can they open out?
If they could.
Yes.
Okay.
The question was, can the doors to the balconies open outward instead of inward? The answer to that is yes. Can those doors become sliders instead of opening doors? Yes. And that's part of what Harry's going through now. If you forgot to tell that to Harry, Harry's available. He's not going anywhere. Okay. Yes, sir.
Storage space in front of the garage area, and if there's going to be some,
Both the underground, well, first of all, I have to say that like anything else in a garage-like area, the length of your vehicle will have some will have some impact on the amount of space that you have left, but there'll be some ability both in the underground parking and in the covered parking, certainly to have some additional cabinetry or whatever you want to build in there. We don't care. It's going to be your space. It's not like the spaces rotate. You're going to get your space either in covered parking or in underground parking, and the garages for the wood side are actually oversized. So one of the advantages of the wood side is not only do they get garages, if that's the way people want to live with their own garage, it's additional storage space in there. But if you got your limo, that big Continental,
I'm wondering about the porches on the first floor. We have the option of having a door out of that porch. Is there a specific place that door has to be, like on one of the ends, or could it be in the middle of that?
yeah, the question is, for those who are on the ground level, there will be a screened patio, not a porch, a patio. And yes, they will all have doors that are on ground level, so you can get out. And yes, there'll be some flexibility in the options and upgrade package later that you can position that door a little bit differently if you want some left side, right side, whatever.
How about center?
Center, whatever, yeah, it's just a system that gets put in. We just need to know in advance where you want yours.
I'm wondering if you have considered a central vac system.
The question is, have we considered a central vac system? Yes. You know what we've considered? It's called housekeeping. You get housekeeping. So we're not going to run at the expense central vac all over the joint when you have, in fact, housekeeping services. They're going to come in and take care of your apartment. So the answer to your question, no. We have not considered central vac.
Is it absolutely definite that the heating system will be gas?
Is it absolutely definite that the heating system will be gas? At this point, it looks like the heating system will be LP gas, yes. But we are still considering whether or not it can be hot water, cold water system. That's part of the discussion of biomass, wood chips, what kind of fuel, and whether, actually, we have a meeting next week with Macmillan to review a proposal for a new type of heating system, which is using the domestic hot water and cooling system to heat and cool the apartment. I don't know how that's going to work out. At the present time, though, we're depending on gas to charge the system. There's no odor to it. You're not going to smell it.
I'm more concerned about the other problems with it. And this morning there was a major announcement that a huge reserve of oil Saudi Arabia.
It will not be oil. It will be LP, i.e. natural gas, not oil. We don't do heating systems in residential units anymore with oil. So it will be gas, or it will be a main boiler fired with gas and working off of the hot water, cold water piping. One or the other. Yes, sir.
Likewise, I'm wondering if Jim Fippick knows if there's a connection or would be a connection between Blackwood Road and the rail trail up that way. Is it close? I don't quite know.
The rail trail is actually located on the opposite side of Route 12. So there is no direct connection. There is a lot of talk about creating a pathway adjacent to Black Brook that would extend from Wyman Road all the way down to the Sims property, which brings us to the north side of Route 12. But to get to the rail trail, you have to cross Route 12, and it's actually very close to Route 12 on the south side. There is a crossing where the city constructed a water tank up on the hill. On the south side of Route 12, there's a utility corridor that comes down to Route 12 and crosses near Ford Street, where Ford Street meets Route 12, part of Blackbrook North. And if you walk up that area today, you can, a lot of people do, they hike up there. It brings you right directly to the rail trail. You're into the rail trail system, you go all the way to Walpole, or you can go east and go to downtown Keene. That is part of the pathway system that's about to be improved as they've done other lanes. So, but there will not be a direct connection from Blackbrook Road to the rail trail.
I know that the phone and the TV are at our expense. Will each apartment have internet access, and who pays?
There'll be wireless systems throughout the community, and it's no additional cost.
Concerning the process that Harry is going through and the structural changes and choices and options for customizing our units, I just wondered if there might be a list or a menu of possibilities. I mean, there are just so many good ideas, and I would hate to think that I'm missing out on something. I wish I'd been aware of that. What a marvelous idea.
Harry, come on up here.
Well, Harry is the one. I just didn't know, we sometimes have a little menu to go through. Oh yes, that might be good. No, I don't want that.
Harry, I guess
I'm just not that creative.
I guess the question is when you talk to different people, they may have some cool ideas out of left field that other people in that kind of apartment may want to consider. How are you going to handle that?
I've been pooling the ideas, and when people come in to talk to me, we'll go through what you want to do, and then I make suggestions as to what other people are doing.
I still like a list.
You would like a list? I could do that too.
Particularly, Harry, if it's somebody that came in and reviewed their two-bedroom unit and they were going to do X, Y, Z, but somebody else did X, Y, Z plus Y, Y, maybe they would like to know what that Y, Y was, and is there any methodology, I guess, to go back and say, hey, even if it's a fun note to someone that said, hey, you did this, but some other people said they were going to do this, just to let you know that it's available.
No, I can put together a list, and I can list things by bedroom, master bedroom, kitchen, bath, balcony, and so forth, with what other people are doing. And how do I get it to you? I guess I can put it as an insert in the next newsletter.
Or send out an email, or whatever is going to work. Does everybody have email addresses we can get to? Tom? Okay. So then whatever's necessary. Because this man and his team are so conscious of making sure they do what you want done, but not later. We don't want to tear out walls later.
How many people use the portal site?
Okay, how are we doing on time?
It's 12:30.
What Okay, we can get to do some more questions, this is kind of fun. We all learn here.
Okay, we start there, now come back there.
About what?
The porch or the patio, it's screened in, right?
Yes.
So we have an option of, and the glass.
Yeah, so the patios will all be screened, there's no cost for that, and the ground floors will have a door that go outside. There will be an option later that probably Harry will also get involved in. Options and upgrades will include the ability to glass enclose the patio. The glass enclosure will be inside the screen, so that from the exterior, they all look the same. Okay? But it'll be built in, it'll be a system. What we'll probably do is just choose a system that you can utilize, and we'll have, so we have the same installer doing 30, 40 units of glass enclosures. And the windows will open and that kind of stuff.
Basically a three-season porch.
Yeah, like a three-season porch.